So, I should have been live a while back. See, time is not a friend of mine. Now, should have started 30 minutes ago, but morning and stuff how it is.
Yeah, it's okay. Weird days happen.
I powered napped a little bit. Yeah, and then again, the only reason I didn't stream Crimson Desert the other night is my game is soft locked behind a gambling quest.
It's actually soft locked.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's pretty bad. Can you
Um,
roll back the save? Is that like an older one? You have?
no, not really. You have to do a duo. You have to play the duo game, and then get last long enough, and at least win or lose at the duo stage of the trio in that trio game, and then you can advance it.
Oh,
So
okay. So it's not a proper soft lock. It's just like
it's a
let's
fucking
say, a choke point where you have to do a certain quest.
you have to
Otherwise,
go to the gambling den, and there's no way
yeah.
around it. So, and I bashed my head against the wall like after my last stream one I did on it for like 2 hours.
Shit.
And I'm like, well, you can. It's like 2 hours, and there's no way to get around it. So, yeah, my main quest is all but soft locked. It's pretty hard, because one time I went over there, there's 3 people. Yeah, no, not gonna work. So it's definitely like Crimson Desert, love it and hate it at the same time. So what can I say? Sorter.
Yeah.
It's definitely. But on to a more serious topic. I've been hinting at this for a couple of weeks now, or the last few. There has been the discussion of how Islamists take over. Now, Islamists are different than Muslims. Muslims are fine, they are the ones who wish to integrate. The West has been having the Islamic fundamentalist problem has been an issue for the Western societies for most of this last couple of decades. We I did send him the thing on the Glenn Beck thing because this is a Tommy Robinson interview. He talked about what was happening in the UK.
Uh
Touched
huh.
on that. But Glenn Beck did his special 9 days ago on the Islamic blueprint to take over. It is basically what's really scary is this is what pop people have been warning about for about 20 years. Back in originally about '06 to '08, Glenn Beck did in his chalkboard, he basically said the Islamic organizations will use the socialist, liberals, the socialist, and the Marxists to basically take over.
Yeah.
The thing is, as we've stated before, the father nations or mother nations, depending on what the Middle Eastern people call them, realize that the ones going to Europe or America are the risk of becoming very radicalized, as the case of the attacker in New York, 18 and 19. One comes from an affluent family, radicalized by Islamic videos online.
And not just that. A lot of extremist attacks
Um,
are not just like people that just immigrated to do the set attack. There were people that got more extreme in the West, and that is because a lot of Western Muslims, for some reason, are more radical than people in the Middle East.
Well, if we take into account Pakistan, they call Pakistan a hive of crazy animals themselves. I mean, the thing with that's why they have no issues with us really attacking Iran. So the thing about it is the reason why they never had an issue with us attacking Iran was because Iran has been doing things for a while. See, now that's kind of that conflict, by the way, has gone down to a it stands in an interesting spot.
Yeah.
We're still here. It's not the end of the world yet.
Well, it wouldn't be the end of the world anyway. It would just be
Jokes aside.
a war. But
I mean,
for now, it looks like it could end.
They're talking both. They're both talking about fucking blocking off the Strait of Hormuz, but we basically degraded their military, which, I mean, but we can't finish them off because we can't do boots on the ground.
Yeah.
And
boots on the ground would mean more dead. And that's not something that would go well with a lot of Americans.
That's part of it. But I think the bigger issue is boots on the ground, meaning it's very much the case. Like, see, jokingly, I was going to tell Sorter, did he actually see? I may have to touch on it. I learned of Hassan went to Yale.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Screaming about the threat of doing a speech about the threat of the American empire. And he got half his facts wrong.
I do love how a Turk living in California is telling people about the threat of the American empire. It is very ironic.
Look, the funny part about it is a lot of Iranians do descend from Persian heritage. They're not Arabic.
Yeah. They are what, they call themselves Aryan. That's what Aryan comes from.
Yes. They are born Persian, which is why we're trying to not make it worse, but there is a problem of they would have attacked anybody and everybody the moment we even tried to. I mean, the argument is basically, even if, let's say, normal Muslims have tried to integrate into the West for the longest time. Or
some of them more successfully than others.
Now, the difference is Islamists are entirely different than the others.
Yeah, I like the first people that would have come didn't come with the intention of taking over. But as more and more people have, that has become a possibility, and thus people that want to actually take over are coming. and in droves.
A lot of them have been coming over due to, I would say, if anything, actually, it's been recent. Because post Syria, because if you go back, it goes back to before 9/11. The idea of Sharia law, and when studying Glenn Beck's most recent special, which is 9 days ago, did go through it. He talked about how hardliners were taking over mosques in Europe and in America,
Mm-hmm.
which that's been a thing since uh, probably after the World Trade Center thing. We know what's funny about this is we knew about it. So we're not talking, oh, you could just say this never occurred. Because we all knew it's like,
And there
it's,
are videos. There are videos of imams talking about destroying the West, about killing, savaging, raping, all that. There
yes.
are like imams in Britain that have. There's like one of them that was, oh, I don't let my wife speak. I just give her a
Yes.
whiteboard to write on.
Uh, it's one of those things which I think a lot of people have misunderstood. Yeah, what was it? Even a lot of specials that you'll see, it's not that they go, oh, it's just you're being Islamophobe. That's an invention of them.
Oh yeah.
Now we haven't actually deemed the Muslim Brotherhood basically a threat to the West. We haven't deemed them a terrorist organization because there's a driving force to the side that Muslims have. Basically, it's used by a lot of the Islamists. It's called political Islam. Political Islam has been the wedge arm for everybody, for them. They
Mm-hmm.
it's less insidious. Everyone's heard of CARE. There was a recent CARE lawsuit in Texas this last year where they said we've been designating them as a terrorist organization. CARE is like the uh, ACLU for
Mm-hmm.
them. But there's like 30 splinter organizations that operate under the Muslim Brotherhood's banner. For the most part, if the name Muslim Brotherhood rings a bell, that was the group that briefly took over Egypt during the Arab Spring.
Yeah. And it was founded in Egypt, I think.
It was founded in Turkey then. The thing is, they talk about the groups, the family, eventually government, and then the caliphate, and then domination globally. They have basically, since their founding, almost 100 years ago, if not more at this point, because it goes back to about the 1920s,
Mm-hmm.
basically when the Turks fell.
Yes,
When,
after, but yeah, it
yeah,
was a little bit after.
they kind of got rid of them, so to speak. They, the thing about this is,
Oh yeah, they became, I think, independent in like 22.
Mhm. They got
No, wait,
exiled.
I'm talking about Egypt because I'm pretty sure it was like
They
in
got
Egypt.
exiled from the Turks because of their extremes. So you're talking. This is the after the downfall of the Ottoman Turks. So you were basically talking about history that very few have actually discussed. And then there's this thing of they've always kind of been there. Like the idea of the caliphate and that. And whether it was by proxy that or by fault of everyone's noticing, they were basically doing that. Now, the biggest issue itself is the greatest global threat of it, and this is what the West hasn't understood, is they've been doing lawfare. So the biggest thing is you see how they got into the Democrats. They got into them because there's this whole thing where when we talk about cares like care is literally their one, right?
Uh-huh.
Their political arm. See, everyone talks about APAC and the Jewish, like, well, they call it the Jewish propaganda wing, right?
Jewish lobby, I guess, Israel
Yes,
lobby.
they call it
Yeah.
the Jewish lobby, the Jewish threat, the Jewish influence. But people
Which, to be honest, I don't think any other country should lobbying powers within a different country, but you know, that is what it is.
uh, basically there is a big deal with like people don't understand stuff, and it's been going on for a good long while. It's probably something if his schedule gets more sorted for real, it'd be something to go into. Like I don't even think Sargon or like even Arch and anybody has been brave enough to go into over like it's a difficult topic. All
Islamists, I'm
on
fairly sure that Sargon has talked a lot about it, but mostly for British stuff.
well, he talks about it from the British point of view. The problem I have with it is, well, fuck, he was on Arch's shit the other day. He all but openly said, he openly, uh, the scariest part I'm finding is, if anything, the West is more guilty of by proxy, what is it? By proxy, what do we call JQ?
Uh-huh.
See, okay. JQ theory is the theory that the Jews run everything. I don't
It's the
think
Jewish
that,
question.
yes, but
That's what it
even,
stands for,
well,
yeah.
fuck, it's gotten Aiden Paladin.
Aiden has been on that for a while.
Well, it's not a new thing. I mean,
I mean, it got, scrumbles on it. I know,
what?
JQ stuff.
Well, you mean, yeah, you mean, how long do you think it's been saying the anti Semitic train He's always
There's
been.
like a part that is like, oh, there is maybe some stuff that Israel is doing that are not good.
Mhm.
Like there is a bit too much Jewish influence in Western politics, but at the same time, not everything is controlled by them. It just goes way, way overboard.
Do man, it just goes overboard. Yes, and that's been a big thing. They'll use that as deflection. Um,
Now,
who
I don't think Sargon actually is fully on that. I know he's like more critical of Israel now, with like the Iran war and stuff.
okay, what would you say his stance is following? He did say that, and I want to say maybe it's Arch's own ineptitude. Why? He just he maybe had Arch also, if I get anything, is it's interesting if you've ever watched Dev argue with Sargon.
Uh huh.
Like Dev recently, as an example, did a video pushing back against Sargon, talking about with nanners, I guess.
Oh, the Niara stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't watched that.
And then it's clearly like, but then again, I've often suspected with Sargon's crew, it's hard for me to watch the Lotus Eaters because they are doing the JQ stuff too much.
Some of them, yeah.
Some.
Harry definitely is. Um, I I don't
What
know some of the new ones,
what
like Fira's
about
Modad. I think that guy also is like
no?
very.
What about Bo?
Oh yeah, both.
What about the redhead, the bearded guy who's there?
The Arab guy.
No, the one of the cast. I can't think of who it is. I know his face. He's the one with
Luca?
the. He's like has the full beard, kind of.
Full beard. Is that Fira's Modad? Because I think he is like a Lebanese or something.
I'll have to go dig it up, but I can't think. Look,
I think
his
he also is like very JQ. Who else? It's Harry, because well,
let me see. I can't even. There's a couple like his actual like bows there. Uh, see, there is a thing where Sargon just casually said something, and even Arch's chat actually got it. You know,
what did he say?
he it's something along the lines of Iran cash. It was something really really wrong about his own. It's something about Iran was just politically or something what started it. And he said no. He said Iran was started to cover up the Epstein files. For real, that's what he said.
I mean, it's not impossible, but it wouldn't be a
But
good
we are
decision.
talking that Sargon, and he is a very smart man, but he was liberal before.
Yeah, he definitely isn't now.
Like he's been
he just Sargon and I think a lot of the right have lost faith in what Trump is doing, or don't actually think that he actually knows what he's doing.
Well, Sargon's not dumb. Like, Sargon's not. Uh, I'm thinking it might be Dan Tubb is the other one I can't think of.
Ah, he's like very pro-America though. I don't know, like his.
I don't think he can. I literally don't think he can. And what I think a lot of his own, when he talks about, and this goes into a lot of what the Islamic people have been doing in Europe, they're not been innocent. Like a friend of mine, basically, I've gone over and said, I've said my friend in Germany, they just say it's happy accidents. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's just like every time it happens, it's like an isolated incident. It's definitely not terrorism. They pretty much do everything they can to not reveal the identity of the person doing it.
When did he have Ferris him on?
Firas Modad? I don't know. He's like one of the. He's a regular now, I think. On his on the Lotus Eaters.
Interesting you bring him up.
Mm-hmm.
He was named in the recent special by Glenn Beck, specifically.
Firas Modad?
Yes. He was a senior fellow at the Strategic Outreach at the Middle East Institute.
I mean, he was
Virus
Lebanese.
Matza.
He is Lebanese.
So, very interesting and small the world is. The interesting.
Is that actually the same person, though?
Yes, it is. It can't be that. I may be tired. I may miss time, but I don't keep track. That dude is named in it. That organization. Yeah.
And what was he exactly? Say that again, so I can reference it.
Cross-reference it. It was in there that he's been around.
No, I mean, what position in what organization specifically?
I gotta have to go back now. That's the hazy part that it's actually you don't wake up is. He's moved around from a couple of groups to groups. He was an advisor in the U.S. for a while. Like he's supposed to be part of the political arm of the Islam. He would show up and it called as controversial that he basically is, it's like there isn't an issue. In a lot of these records that we have, see, the Middle East Institute is one of those that's, there's a list of organizations that they've been softening basically the blow or see, okay. If anything, they know a lot of the Islamic people, they don't come out and say that's exactly what they are. But then again, I can forgive Sargon for not knowing it because, look, Bill O'Reilly and both Glenn Beck both have very massive research teams for years. Things Glenn Beck has said 2 years ago come true. See, the thing is, militant Islamists actively go out. The ones going through the Muslim Brotherhood or their splinter organizations haven't in the last decade plus, like, there was an actual trial, like the Homeland Foundation found them, and then they told basically the intelligence community to scrub the thing, scrub databanks and scrub reports of anything of extreme. So we haven't properly fought political Islam for a long time. And you see cases like cells spontaneously popping up, like after the Iran attack, right? They just happened to pop up and attack people in the US.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't exactly surprising considering everything has been going on.
The Lebanese guy who tried to set himself on fire, run into a mosque, the guy in Austin, the person in New York, where that would have been more funnier if it did happen because Mamdani was mayor. And by all accounts, New York City's becoming unsafer.
Well, and more Muslim.
Here's a thing. A lot of these people, and I tell this to people, it's going to sound weird. There was a guy in wake of the 9/11 attack where there just happened to be a building that debris fell upon from the World Trade Center. People started to try to build a new mosque inside this building. But I want you to remember, he had divine inspiration, but it also had debris fall on it from the World Trade Center directly.
I'm not surprised.
Odd?
If you know them, not really.
Well, to the common person, does that not seem like something strange?
Yeah. If they don't know, yeah.
That's kind of like that's like walking into the street like Moses seeing the burning bush. Right?
Yeah.
Build your temple here. You know? Which I know. It sounds weird. And when you link these coincidences, it's not like Glenn talks out of his ass and honestly, there's all the examples. And the idea of gradually working stuff in one of the fastest growing religions in the United States is Islam.
Yeah, I think it's like the fastest, right?
Basically the fastest. It's hard to say. It's like one of my friends earlier this morning was like, it's not it's like it's one of the biggest prison converting population. It's also one of the...
It's very big with like certain ethnicities.
But it's growing also. It's not the whites or the Americans converting, unironically, because my friend was like not missing the point when I said they can. We're talking about the idea that they openly have been doing this. These are linked to Muslim Brotherhood outreach under arms. It's like the Ferris mech said. Like I have a, that's why that name seems familiar. It sticks in my head because that thing he was named. And the thing is, if he is, Sargon's going to be very bamboozled if he actually learns what the guy. Like, people don't think these people have an insidious arm. Like Mamdani, what would it be said if Mamdani, running for office, said the same thing from a speech by the Ayatollah rising to power in Iran?
I'm not surprised. I mean,
Almost
the Ayatollah did have the
almost word for word
help of the communists when he rose up.
So is that not odd, sort of?
It's certainly strange, yes.
This is what people have never understood. History is a guide as much as it is a warning, okay? History is a guide, and you should use it as such. And unfortunately, we always miss it. It's like the signpost that keeps bashing us in the head repeatedly. Till we never learn.
Yeah, a lot of people think, oh, that's not going to happen now.
Because the thing about in Glenn Beck's more recent special is he named a couple of imams that he has one where you just have to sign up to his website to watch it fully because it's originally 2 hours because 20 minutes got cut out. So basically the interesting part is, in Saudis know this. The Saudis actually do know about this stuff. They just are like, in wake of the World Trade Center bombing, we started doing probes into Islamic organizations in the West, especially in America. Sharia law was on the rise being taught. They found a lot of mosques are being taken over by hardliners in one particular organization. I live in like North Central Texas. The Homeland Foundation, and we have our own very large community off. It's on the other side of Dallas. They have their own communities down there. They seem sweet and innocent, but you don't want to cross them. They have Sharia law schools, and they have money. They have literally been being watched, that area, since 9/11. There was a near attempted terrorist attack on the Fountain Place in Dallas. So the thing about this is, it's kind of like it's in an area around, which is Irving, Texas, which they have carved out a suburb. Now, you wouldn't think about it. It's like Dearborn, Michigan. I mean, DFW is a big area. I mean, 3 counties, but they aren't poor. They are, most of them are very chill. Then there's the other ones, if you ever go down there, they stare holes in the back of your head. They're the ones when you see a lot of the people we're talking about, they are the ones that you see in the crazy online libs of TikTok videos. America will one day become a Muslim nation,
Yeah.
or Canada would, or as they wave the Quran around. Hell,
Yeah.
they're coming out to rallies now, telling the European people and even people in Canada, we will just outbreed you and then take you over.
I've seen. I'm
That's
fairly sure
been
they've
making,
said that in Britain.
yes, that's been going around Europe. Some of these are actually older men saying this. It's not fake. The warning signs have been there for a very long time.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, like, Islam is still Muslim. That's what Islam does. It doesn't usually coexist.
It's not a
It
coexistence.
subjugates.
It's yes, coexistence is not what they're best at.
And yeah, and it's not even the end goal. Like, there are a lot of, let's say, moderate Muslims, the normal ones. But even the normal ones are
Really?
fine with the extremists. Quite oftenly, because
You have to look. You have to. I let's get the elephant in the room out of the way first, okay? You need to separate. Ouch. You need to separate literally Islamists from. You need to separate the moderate. I used to think. I'm not saying that this is the case. Is there a separation between moderates and hardliners?
yes, there is. It's just the moderates will end up voting for the hardline Islamist parties. Because that's, they're voting for Islam. And why wouldn't they?
Now
That is generally that problem, that even the moderates will be either pressured into voting for more hardline ones, or they won't see it as a problem.
see, that's an interesting point. So the process, we're not to the process. The identifying the threat is the Muslim Brotherhood knows openly they couldn't operate seriously. That's what was hurting them for one of the longest times. They don't openly say, "Oh, we're here," kind of thing. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
They actively say, "We're just kind of going to be there." Now, this is very different because everyone is familiar with like ISIS. Everyone's familiar with Al Qaeda. Everyone is familiar with the Taliban. Because you see that the Taliban did as soon as we pulled out of Afghanistan. They went back, and because this brings into the organizations. Here's the thing about the organizations. They act like they're not a threat, which they use. It's pretty much just the first part, like how they operate.
Yeah, they use it as a disguise. It's like, oh, it's not a threat, obviously. We just want to be safe.
So a part of it is how do you identify it? It's not that they're terrible. The problem is they have an end goal. Like Memdani only got in by he might be a real shitty ass mayor. Okay. He could probably be the world's worst fucking mayor of New York.
Yeah.
I mean, if anything is to go by recent history, he's not really doing well. He's doing okay. Half his socialist promises are falling through. But
Yeah, because he's realizing that he actually can't do them.
But here's the funny part about it is his effect as a mayor. Same with Elon Omar. They backed several candidates. The Palestinian woman who was screaming at Trump during the State of the Union.
Yep.
And Elon Omar. They backed Elon Omar to become where she is. People don't think about this. There's other Democratic candidates too. These are just the loudest amongst them. It keeps them into place. Democrats don't realize they're good little patsies. You know?
The Democrats have the same,
they're good little patsies.
The same...
Good little tools.
I don't know.
How would you describe it?
You know?
Because I bring this in, it's a hard topic to have. Because saying Elon Omar is an actual Muslim, Islamic fundamentalist trap, like Zoran Mandami. See, everyone looks at Zoran Mandami as just let socialists have New York, then we can laugh at them forever.
Yes, no, it's not that. I've talked about Islamoleftism before and said that is the future of the left.
I mean, they don't realize do they realize they're infiltrated? Do they? Probably not.
No, they think they're being inclusive and nice and not bigots. That's kind of like the very socially liberal way of thinking.
We're not talking.
They will invite the killer to their home. They think, oh, he's not done anything. And then the killer will kill them. And they'll be like, oh my God, how could he do that?
Why am I suddenly reminded of the Paul Pelosi assault?
That's a little bit.
What?
That's not quite the best analogy, but I can see where you're going.
What? No? Okay, that's an inside joke if people don't know that, okay? All right?
Yeah.
The original joke about the whole Paul Pelosi being assaulted. And this is actually true. Trump tweeted out at the time it happened. It was literally have you ever seen a window broken from the inside out?
Many times.
And called a fucking robbery. And called a robbery.
Haven't you?
So he took a photo and people looked at it. It was broken from the inside out. And it was the weirdest post-investigation. We called it the drug deal gone. We called it either a drug or a sex deal gone wrong. And there were conflicting reports that he was already inside the house at the time.
Yeah.
And this is the funny part about the original story. I followed it. I was like, this is such the weirdest story ever, right?
Yeah.
And
It certainly
they
is.
tried to say he was influenced by the right. He basically turned out he was 50 shades of batshit crazy. We did
He was with some fucking nudist, like weird hippie woman.
he was radicalized by Geeks and Gamers, FNT, and a bunch of other sites they try to pin it on. I'm like, you couldn't make this up at the time. And I was like, yeah. But what's funny is the idea eventually is that it was a knock at the door and he was inside the house, because what wasn't in the police report says he was inside the house when the assault occurred, but we don't know why. So, tangent aside, the fun fact about it is leftists and liberals seem to be the type, they don't realize the threat. Call it a survival instinct they're lacking. You know?
Yeah. Well, I think that the term generally, the term suicidal empathy gets used, gets a bit abused by people. It is kind of why they invite Muslims to their parties and then the Muslims take over. They don't see it. They don't actually understand that it will happen. They think that it's a conspiracy theory.
Meanwhile, I look this up. There's a thing too. Do they know the West has really bad sympathy issues? You know what I mean by that, right?
Uh-huh.
Do why don't do you think the West knows of the concept of good and evil?
The West in general, yes.
But do you
A lot
think
of the more
younger
left-leaning
people
people,
do
no.
they know of the concept of good and evil?
I think a lot of them reject it.
You call it a rejection. See, this is the important part of the argument. This is how they got in. Because they go, well, you don't want to be an ist and a foe. Because remember, the term Islamophobia was told to be circulated by institutes and the Muslim Brotherhood because they know Western people hate being called racist.
Uh-huh. Like Western people hate being thought of as bigoted or
Yeah.
small-minded.
That's why PC culture so currently, as of it, we have 4 House of Representatives. Andre Carson, Democrat, Illinois. Elon Omar, Rashida Tlaib, and basically a new one, Latface Simon. State level, 46. Historical first was Keith Ellison, 07 to 19. you almost kind of forget about Keith Ellison. Keith Ellison went out with like a fart in the wind.
Yeah.
Um, this stuff is, they don't recognize evil.
Yeah, because they think that it A is not evil and B is just the bad stuff they do is just their culture.
So, and the interesting part, there's only 13 state senators across the country. This is basically, let's say, it's like in areas, it's very hard for them to have a massive wave, if this makes sense. So let's get to the part where it's the other one. What is the threat they pose? They are doing subversion. I guess this is also how they infiltrate. The thing is, they're doing it now. If we get into the part about how they infiltrate, they don't make themselves as threats. Okay. Threats. Very key. Well, everyone knows in post 9/11, Islamic terrorists strap bombs to themselves and yell Allahu Akbar and blow up everybody. Correct.
Uh-huh.
That's a recognizable threat. No one sees terror as a threat. They don't see sections of the political arms of all these organizations as threats. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because like nearly invisible, essentially.
What's funny about what happened in 2008 specifically. See, right after Obama got elected, we were doing a lot of investigations into Muslim organizations. And this is where a lot
Uh-huh.
of documents come out. FBI would still investigate them. Some investigations would be as soon as documents seized in 2011. It's like a Muslim Brotherhood playbook that goes back to the 90s. There were documents inside there. That's where it comes from. We prosecuted some, we tried to get some basic people, Muslim clerics or imams specifically. Because the difference between Shia and Sunni is how they view the word imam, by the way.
The difference is like one, like Sunnis follow the caliphate, follow the caliph as the authority, while Shia follows generally the genetic line of, well, Muhammad. That is like the initial difference.
See, this is where I'm kind of ignorant on, but from what I know is they had their own split into Shiites and Sunnis.
Mm-hmm.
People come sometime think they're one and the same. There was a split. And that's what Iranians, the people who are the Iranian leaders, the Iranian branch of Islam, they are part of a split. Let me actually look that up really quick because I forget what year it's quietly happened.
Yeah, I mean, there's like Iraq is also has a lot of Shia, and some countries around there also do.
So there were succession disputes when this happened, but it goes back to about 1400, I want to say. Kind of like there was their own. It happened. Where they say it's about a 1400-year-old divide, but it's something, if I look into it, it was starting to happen more about 1450. So it's about in the 1400s you started to see it. There was a split in the belief system for them, similar to Protestants, right? They split, but they don't kick out. So the problem is they weren't always this extreme. But the thing is, when we talk about it's been the Muslim Brotherhood and other organizations like that one that have been driving the infiltration, and they want it to be gradual and normalization. Because the interesting part is, after October 7th, why was it so odd after October 7th? Even white liberal people protested for Muslims, even though they're non-religious.
For the same reasons we talked earlier.
What?
They are essentially allies for now.
They have an alliance. Gradual. See the term, remember, gradual and influence. They basically got into the parties. But they're also subverting the parties. They don't like Israel.
Also, there's like a pretty big thing with like a lot of, let's say, far leftists are generally very anti-West and anti-American, anti-Israel,
Well,
all
we're
that.
talking into progressives. Progressives
Yeah.
are very much the case.
And because Muslims are also anti-West and anti-America and anti-Israel, they, it's like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And thus the alliance. And that's been a thing for a while, like even back to the 70s and earlier. Communists would kind of ally with Muslims.
That's kind of how and ironically, you wouldn't think about it, the communists and the socialists sided with the Ayatollah.
Yeah.
But they were the first kicked out of power as soon as the Ayatollah took power.
Yeah, they got kicked out and killed.
Politely buried under buildings and buried in prisons. They were the first victims. People are going to go, no, that's not actual history.
No, the communists did help them take power, and then they got fucked up with them.
Useful idiots.
Exactly.
And irony is that became history. It's left out of the history of the Iranian Revolution of what happened to the socialist and the communist and the Marxist.
It's not even left out. It's like you can find that even in Wikipedia. That's the worst part. The left does not don't care. It's like it's there. It's even in Wikipedia, which they trust.
I guess if it's in Wikipedia, it's funny.
It is in Wikipedia because I did look at it a while ago just to see if it is there, and it
They
is.
did mention it. Really, they just didn't mention that they were the first liquidated.
They didn't. They did mention that after the Ayatollahs took power, they pretty much either imprisoned or killed every communist that helped them. I don't remember the party's name because it was a party.
I think I heard this. See, Glenn Beck talks about that too recently. Yeah, I'm like, so you signed off on your own death warrant. That's just, what are we doing here? I mean, if we're talking about how infiltration goes, they make them seem like not a threat, right?
Uh-huh.
They make themselves not a threat. And this is where this is. You don't view Elon Omar as a threat. Even though Somali fraud is running rampant up there, and they were using that money to funnel the stuff to Somalis. They're using our own organizations in the West against us.
Yeah, it was called the Tudeh Party. Tudeh. I don't know how the fuck it's pronounced, but yeah.
Yeah, so they were just executed or gotten rid of after the revolution for being useful idiots.
Yep.
Congratulations. Sadly, we both know of one that would be a useful idiot candidate.
Yeah, more than one, but yeah.
A couple, but one specifically.
Yeah.
Dev.
I'm not gonna even disagree on that, though he doesn't like Muslims because he's,
But he's still a useful idiot. Nick Fuentes is a useful idiot.
Nick Fuentes would be more somehow because
Why?
Nick Fuentes would just actually vote for Islam just to go, get at the Jews. It's like
okay,
okay.
People are thinking we're joking.
No, but that is Fuentes. He would just do that
because they're piggybacking on the fact we hate Israel, or we have people who hate Israel by proxy hate Jews.
Yeah.
So it's not
the only thing that saves them from going that way is that he's very pro-Jew for whatever reason.
Uh-huh.
Might be his large nose.
But no, we have Nick Fuentes is also a useful idiot. I mean,
yeah, I mean,
legit, he really doesn't like Israel. He really, really doesn't.
Yeah, I mean the main, the main villain.
And then let's go to the other one that Islamic people were using or giving information to. Candace Owens. These are funded psyops. People think we're kidding.
Fuentes is he's a gay Mexican cowboy white supremacist. So, that in itself is a joke. But Candace Owens somehow is a bigger one.
Like, these are prominent people who have been used as mouthpieces by proxy. You can think of a lot of people, CNN anchors. You're thinking it's modern because that one guy that we were mentioning earlier that got onto Lotus Eaters, he wasn't charged. But
I would actually like to. I couldn't find, because he has like a LinkedIn profile. But LinkedIn is fucking cancer. So.
He is an interesting individual where he.
Like, I don't know if that's 100% him. I don't want to, like. I don't like the guy already.
I know the name.
Yeah, I don't like the guy. I don't want to claim anything there.
The Middle East Institute. I'll link below the Glenn Beck thing in this so you can kind of see it for yourself. There's a name. It's kind of like the Chinese know about the Islamic connection to undermine the West as well.
Yeah, I mean, the Chinese are playing every card they have because, why not?
But here, unlike them, do you know what they're doing? They throw their Muslims underneath the buses or in prison camps.
Specifically concentration camps to force them to assimilate, yes.
So, good luck over there to any Muslim people trying to convert anyone.
I'm not going to say what I think of their treatment of Muslims. Because I am Greek, so I don't... yeah.
What do you mean? They have the... Can we say the name of the population that is actually by proxy Muslim? Uyghurs.
Yeah, not white people that are pretending to be ghetto, but
so the Uyghurs,
it's like a Turkic group of
they have been
is Muslims.
They have been subjugated and basically imprisoned in proxy camps or factories by the Chinese for going on a very long time.
Yeah, because the Chinese generally want to force everyone to become Han in China, so they want to force a nation state.
And this is still part of it. But see, they don't sign off on their own death warrant.
Yeah, because they're not stupid. I mean, they are a lot of stuff, but not that stupid.
What? They're not stupid, you say? No, of course not.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about... But in the U.S. and in Europe, we're happily marching to our own doom.
Yep.
Which is insane, right?
It is, and it wouldn't be happening like 15 years ago. Well, not 50. It was happening 50 years ago. It wouldn't be happening in the 50s, let's say.
I mean, what you say, like the urge to... I think it's going to go back because we're going to actually have to do the thing on Yuri Blazonov of his stuff.
Bezmenov. Yeah.
The irony is I may have to introduce him to Multi because he did hide out in Canada for a bit before he disappeared. He was either killed or he just disappeared, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, he would have been also kind of old at that point.
he was one of the influential people in flipping both. He himself was involved in working in Iran as well as India to flip them to communism.
Yep, it was India. I think it was mostly India.
He also did say something about Iran at one point too, because he was not a low-level KGB operative. It's that forgotten history, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that goes into also communist, like how they infiltrate. But they're basically using progressive and liberal tactics to get into places.
They're using they're using essentially almost Gramscian tactics to infiltrate liberals and left-wingers.
Well, that's the thing. Gramsci's I swear to God, everything goes back to Gramsci.
Yeah, a lot of it does.
You think people think we'd be joking? It goes back to fucking Gramsci all the fucking time. Gramsci's a discussion for an entire day or mini series that he needs to be for around more. But see, chaotic trying to get him squared away here.
Yeah, it's been pretty weird as of late.
But no, for real, like in the Islamic thing, how they got in, they're using tactics of the left. Like the leftist activists, right? That's how, and they're acting like they're innocuous, basically.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Which no one's saying that they're all a threat. It's not like we're saying, well, we need to purge them. No.
But there definitely needs to be some, let's say, control of certain individuals within them.
There's a whole thing. Why do you march off to your own death?
I mean, it depends. If it's a defense against someone, if you're defending against someone, you don't have a choice. But
See, this is where you get into it, right? They are going to be that, and this is the part where it gets a lot of, Jesus Christ, why is it so expensive? Fuck. Sorry, been trying to get a magic deck done at the same time. God damn it. But no, I do two things. I've been trying to get this. But no, the funny part about a lot of it is we consign ourselves to basically, it's like the West is basically consigning themselves to their own destruction, their own demise. And they're none the wiser. Basically, in the Tommy Robinson interview, this is why I said if you watch that one,
yeah, that I watched.
They're only like 6% of Britain right now.
Yeah, they're not a large percent. It's just,
and they're
a lot of them are very militant.
They're causing issues out of the ass over there.
Yeah, because they know how the police don't do anything, and it's not now. It's been happening since at least Rotherham. which was in pretty much since the 80s, I think.
What was it? Tommy Robinson's Town, right?
That's Luton. That's slightly later.
Luton, yes. He's been basically he was the canary in the coal mine. I don't agree entirely with the man in how he works. Okay?
He's like a bit of a meathead.
Yes.
And even like now, a few months ago or something, he punched someone in the airport. It's like, okay, just like he doesn't do himself any favors.
What? You don't think he doesn't? You don't think he does himself favors? But
Like with the way he acts.
it's really weird when you go from having one mosque in a town to having 20 or 30. And then you have crimes associated with Muslim men, and they're only a small percentage of the population.
Yeah.
See the problem?
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say that. It's very similar to the demographic of they say black people don't commit a lot of crimes. It's a victim of the system.
Yeah, the 1350 meme.
But but they just happen as a population to be the ones to be committing the most crimes, right?
And they're not exactly not linked either. There's like a lot of black people are Muslim in the US, a lot of American black people.
Here's the thing. All this little weird stat goes together. It sounds weird if you do the research or have ever seen it. It's like Muslim men will say, well, you're making fun of us because we're such a small population. Well, you might be a small population, but something's definitely up with you. You know?
And it doesn't matter if you're like a small population. If you're not behaving the way that you're supposed to behave, if you're not integrating, then you're not beyond, criticism.
Scrutiny?
Or scrutiny, yeah.
This gets into that's also the reason why we don't trust immigration. Like our immigration system is broken, especially in the United States. They know our immigration system is broken. They do, and they use it.
Yeah.
We're talking about a lot of people use it. This is talking about they use our system against us. That's
they use your system and your values and your sensibilities against us.
They're fucking using our own government funding and free programs against us. How do people think the Somali fraud case could even happen? A bunch of Somalis just start running taxi services?
Totally legit. It's like the Turkish barbers in Britain.
I mean,
which are usually just shops that are covering up for, well, whatever. They usually front for slavery and every kind of bad thing that is happening.
Let's be honest. A large section of illicit activity has been done through real businesses. I'm going to be very honest. You wouldn't look at a massage parlor the same.
Yeah.
Insert joke of Asian sex trafficking. Here. Yes. Okay? Yeah. I'm not innocent by any metric, okay? I never partake in that, but I know what goes on there, all right? You're acting like it's like asking cartel-owned strip clubs aren't both strip clubs but also sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Okay.
And drug dens, etc.
And the thing is, Tommy Oliver did that where they got him addicted to drugs. So if they ever came out, they would just say they're drug addicted. Because this is what a lot of people seem to forget about actual Islam. Like, and this is something, it's, say Christianity can be twisted, okay? Islam, whilst it's not a twisted version of itself, they find weird ways to justify themselves.
There are like a lot of passages in the Quran that can justify a lot of atrocities, honestly.
You could say the same is used in the Bible, but
the Bible doesn't have sections that are like you must conquer the wall.
Not as bad, okay? It's like I love Kidda to death. She's living in, I think, UAE over there, or Dubai. They tolerate outsiders. But do you know what they do? Like, she has tattoos. They may not judge her, right?
Yeah.
But they'll still look at a person like Melanie Mack as a idol of sin.
Good. She's
but you know what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
Right? But
I mean, hey, I'm pretty sure that
I love Kidda, but Kidda, I knew Kidda had a bunch of those tattoos, and I've asked her before, like, what do they do? I'm like, but she also knows she does not go certain areas over there unwatched. She won't admit to it.
Yeah, and it's also like the UAE and these the Gulf countries typically kind of have different rules for foreigners and people from there.
But they tax their stuff.
Yeah, like they will allow foreigners to drink alcohol, but it's still illegal for someone from there.
But not in one of the stadium when they held the World Cup. Alcohol.
Yeah, that was in Qatar, though.
Was that Qatar? No, Qatar. Yes.
Yeah, the Qatar thing is like slightly more hardline.
I forget which one it was. Those areas do run together. Like they wouldn't allow consumption of alcohol in the stadium, even though they know they're gonna have a bunch of footballers and football hooligans
who will fucking find ways to drink alcohol.
Yes. But look, this all comes down to it's not how they infiltrate, but this is what they do in areas when you see they take over, because they tax foreigners.
They tax non-believers.
Yep. Non-believers.
That's the jizya. That is the tax they levied on Christians, sometimes Jews, depending on the era.
Yeah.
And everyone else.
Yeah, no. This has been a thing going back a very long time when you're dealing with Islamic people.
That's like in-state.
That's actually basically what the end stage looks like. Once they take over the area, it looks like Saudi Arabia. It looks like Pakistan. It looks like the thing, right? It's like what? UAE, Dubai, Qatar, they all say they don't use slave labor. We all know they do.
Yeah,
The fuck are
they
you on about?
essentially allow like let's say people from the third world to come over there and work, but they don't allow them to become citizens ever. They don't have the rights of citizens. They just can work.
Yep. They can work.
And so
And
obviously, not the same, not paid the same.
and this goes back, if you ever want to see what's really interesting, it's duality. I mean, here they go, well, but you can't practice that over here. They don't practice that over here openly, do they? No. But when you go to places like Dearborn, Michigan, or areas they have high influence of, like if you go to parts of Utah, you know they're 100% controlled by Mormons,
Yeah.
right? We
Mm-hmm.
all know this. We all know they're controlled. This is like the secret where there's sections of New York City or areas, but see, we haven't descended to the point like France. France cucked to all of the Sharia law. They let them have Sharia law courts. The UK is currently blocking them from getting Sharia law courts. Okay?
Yeah.
Because they saw what happened in France. The UK police is already pussies enough. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And for people who don't know what I'm talking about, as soon as the Syrian migrants or the migrants got to France, they started carving out areas which were no-go zones. So much so, there's all these no-go zones in France to this day.
I mean, France had the thing of like having an empire, a lot of in North Africa. And when that collapsed, a lot of them just came to France.
But
And
no,
they already had like quite a large Muslim population even
but
before like the
no, but
2010s.
but no, we're talking about the big thing, the Syrian crisis.
Yeah, I'm talking even before that they had a lot of Muslims.
My favorite though is still the the German response.
Yeah.
That's basically a weird, deranged Islamic man gets up, yells Allah Akbar, and throws it, stabs people repeatedly, and then they just call it a drunken lunatic or high on drugs. The
And
other,
yeah, they will say German man
they'll
goes on
go,
a stabbing spree.
and we all know what it really means.
Yeah, if they are obfuscating the identity of the German man or whatever, it's usually yeah.
No, but what people don't know what I'm talking about in the U.S. U.S. media does it too. like they don't want to admit or claim ownership. There was legit a story that happened in Germany. An Arabic man had a problem with his wife or his ex-wife. Just stole a van and rammed it into a fruit shop, past a fruit stand, and went into the building to start stabbing people.
Yeah.
They said a man went insane, basically. Left out the part where he rammed the vehicle into the building to attack a person inside, leaving out it was going to be an honor murder.
Yeah. Wasn't Germany the place where someone got raped by some immigrant? I don't remember exactly, Faith, but it was likely, Muslim. But
There were crimes every week.
and she
Arch
was
talked
raped,
about,
and then she screamed something at him, and they let him go because he's not like fit for trial. He's too dumb, and they put her in jail for Islamophobia. for hate speech, essentially. It's like
okay, I can't vouch for that story, but that does sound like something that would fucking
it,
happen.
it might not be exact, but it's like something like that did happen a few months ago, or maybe a year, something like that.
That reminds me of a story Arch said at one point. Arch said it. Norwegian man gets basically raped by a migrant, takes pity on his.
Hits what?
Took pity on him. Okay, a immigrant, probably a Muslim immigrant or some other immigrant, came to Norway, raped a Norwegian man.
Uh-huh.
He then developed sympathy towards the immigrant and said, "Don't deport him or punish him too harshly."
Oh yeah, that is. I don't.
You really would not think that's a real story.
Unless you know these people, and they do
I have to
exist.
see if I can find it because there is stories Arch talks about out of Norwegian newspapers you would never believe. He got cold. What was it? He recently got named in an article about some editorial person found out about him and said he was Gamergate
Oh,
or extreme right.
was it something that also mentioned like Carl and other
Yes,
people?
it was a site. It was a actual. He did a video on it. Arch, it was mentioned. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is like in Norway. You got to bear in mind, Norway's tiny. You know? But this goes into the effect, right? When Islamic people they have infiltrated. Like they've infiltrated the West. They use our own culture against us. They're just biding their time. Like with Canada, I joke with Multi, who's going to take over your nation first? Chinese, Indians, or Pakistanis, or
Well,
the
Muslims, but
Arabs?
yeah.
Or the, which First,
It's one of those three.
you're
I'd say
you're already French are they're already a minority. That's where
French,
they
yeah.
intend. No, white people are already a minority in Canada.
I mean, I could believe it.
The funny thing about this is Canada is a case. I introduced him to Patrick Boyle and why Canada shouldn't be chosen. It's like the UK. UK's letting themselves get taken over by either Indians or Arabs.
I mean, okay, apparently it's not a minority yet.
Yet.
But it's bound to be in sometime like
2030.
2041. No. Projections. Oh no, okay. It says like the visible minorities could make up over 38% of the population by 2041. I mean, that could be inaccurate.
I mean,
but
by then, depending on what part of Canada you're in.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. This is the infiltration. They use their system, and we already know Canadians, Dev aside, can be cucked into oblivion.
I mean, Dev had made a video, or like a series of videos of how cocked is Canada back in the day.
Was this pre TDS Dev?
That was like 2018 or something like that. 2017, 2018.
But this was no, but seriously, like like Canada is also like my favorites are the migrants that move up there like Alinity.
Yeah.
Just married a man and then divorced him because she got her green card.
Yeah. And then just started throwing up cats.
I'm sorry. I mean, granted, then they gave us XQC. I swear to God, if I ever go down to Austin and run into XQC, man, you know he doesn't go out in public.
I don't think he doesn't. I mean, he's fucking dumb enough to go.
Look, I'm going to say this. This is how tight-knit some Texas communities are. Even Austin. People would see someone like XQC.
I mean, yeah, probably.
He's French-Canadian. In a sea of borderline accents and southern draws. You can't really tell with my accent through StreamYards or when I stream. If people heard me IRL, they know I have a southern draw.
Hey, you do sound, Texan, let's say.
You could hear it. We know our own kind. Apparently, it comes out in vowels. Go out of state, you can't hide it. Now, it's not as bad as East Texas or West Texas, but you'll hear it when we say y'all.
Oh, God, yeah. That,
Goddamn.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, y'all is just a crime against humanity.
Well, it's you'll hear it in certain words, you know.
Yeah.
But being in the DFW area where I live,
I gotta go, by the way.
uh,
I told you I was gonna. I only had like 2 hours or so.
so yeah, I'll just wrap it up at about two. So this is
Okay, man.
long. This is longer. Like, see, that's a section they infiltrate about. That's the thing is what they're talking about. This is how they get into the system. Now, here's the thing: what is their end game? You think? Because the end game is to have influence, have acceptance. It goes beyond acceptance. I mean, if their end game is to have domination, that's going to be really hard in the US. Parts of Europe,
It is gonna take time. I think it's gonna take time for both, but it depends. Like they generally focus on areas first, and then go for countries.
but they haven't been able to get out of like Dearborn, Michigan, or out of their communities, though.
Hmm.
They have a
Anyway,
hard time.
I'm gonna go. We'll talk later, man.
I guess I'll catch you. I'll have to remember to start sooner next time. That'll be good.
Mm-hmm. Bye bye.
See you. I'll close. No sword. You know how to leave. Guess I'll leave him there for the time being.
Yeah.
See,
No, you're
hmm?
not. No, you're not.
You don't know how to leave? You're on mobile, aren't you? Ah, I won't kick him. Let him leave on his own. Mobile connections. People do things. But what is their actual end game, though? Their actual end game is either acceptance. They've been using the gradual tolerance means what? Basically, tolerance leads to acceptance, then maybe domination. But what's they're finding in the US, it's a lot harder. I mean, arguably they're fighting with a secular, non Christian secular people, which would be the atheist and them. But they willingly go along with them. So it's like basically collabing. Now, it's interesting that they can't get the power in the US they want, even with a person like Mamdani around. Like every so often, you'll have members of Congress be loud, but they don't loudly say they're Islamic or Muslim. So they're not at the point they have tipping power. Like certain areas, it's definitely not like in Utah where Mormon mafias and jokes aside, the Mormons run Utah. Maybe that's what they want. But their end game is basically still soft domination of the West. I mean, they're fine playing the long game. This is the actual facts. They play the long game. They've been doing it for, what, 100 years. Political Islam is a very slow thing. Now, we're talking, they're using our own money, but also what our own agencies that we have fund terrorist activities or counterterrorism, which is no secret, by the way. Here's the other part. They're in game, like A bunch of Somalis settled around Dearborn, Michigan, and all those areas up there in Wisconsin. They're committing fraud. Our own government's known about this, but they refuse to do anything about it. And I'll have to link below the two sources that I use. Glenn Beck's thing when he talked to Tommy Robinson, it's going to be in the description below here. It's just been a very interesting process for 20 years. Because Tommy Robinson is a meathead. Like, we see it, like, they want Sharia law or their own sections in the UK. In the US, they want Sharia law or their own tribalistic communities. Because the first part is, it's something you take it with a grain of salt. You have to look at it from a side. It's not that Muslims are bad. It's Islamists are bad. It's the Islamist problem. There's a big difference. Now, they don't have the accountability for their own groups as much because it's really hard at some point to justify or wave away stuff happens. They know stuff happens. We've seen it in the grooming gangs in the UK. Need to remember to put this in the section below. I'll actually remember that when I have to go through it. Glenn Beck's special, he did one recently, but the interview with Tommy Robinson was also showed that the UK government cucked itself to capitulate to being tolerant. The thing is, Islamic people are tolerant to the point they were the ones, when you talk in their endgame section, they coined the phrase Islamophobic. There's a process. It's hard to describe unless you see it. You have to just learn it. It's not that all of them are bad. They have groups that are the extreme ones. Given their own wills, they would warp the culture around them. And it sounds very weird. It's hard to do in the US because we're too tribalistic or we're too regional. Basically, you can do it like in New York. New York can have a whole Jewish sector, Muslim sector, Chinese sector of the city. It sounds weird. You can have this sector, you know. It sounds insane. San Francisco, you can have the Chinese sector. But a lot of people don't realize that a lot of Islamic terrorists or Islamic organizations, their end goal is to dominate whatever area they're in. They want to practice it. This isn't even bringing into the conflict with Iran. Iran is a symptom of something more. Because the UK found out when these mosques propped themselves up, new ones, they were preaching anti-white or anti-UK policy. You need to dominate the area. You need to become influential. This is what a lot of people don't see. It's like a slow creep. It's like a slow fall. Even where I live, as I said, outside Dallas, DFW is a big area. They have an area that is many practice Sharia law. Nothing escapes that community. Cops don't go there. They leave it to regulate themselves. And it's an affluent area. There's foundations down there. It's common knowledge and it's known. It's a sub community in a city. And that area has been watched by DHS for a very, very long time. Since at least 9/11. Even I know that. Most people, yeah, you ain't going to be able to spot the difference. But a lot of like the ones that you'll see are the scholar types. CARE is one. I brought them up before. Muslim Brotherhood's been at least a silent organizer of it. It sounds weird to say. You think of organizations like CARE. You think APAC are bad. There's 30 plus Muslim organizations, and amongst them, other Islamic organizations that fund political activities, knowingly fund them. And then they give more money than APAC ever could. At one point, it was 3 or 4 times what APAC had given to candidates. Let's say they gave 30 million. The other one was about 80. And sometimes the Saudis, and don't get me wrong, the Saudis are involved by proxy too. The Saudis are not innocent in this. Saudis themselves, Turkey is also. I'm not blaming them. Like Erdogan and both the Saudis are both, they're basically frenemies. They agreed to deal with Iran. We dealt with Iran. Okay? They wanted Iran gone. They want Iran dealt with or minimized. They'll let us do it. Same with they'll let Israel do it. But no one has said that Erdogan, even I butcher his name, the current leader in the regime that's in power in Turkey, is entirely not hardline. Saudis themselves, there's pages missing from the 9/11 report. Those are redacted. They go back to the Saudis and Saudi influence. Because we've known about this for 20 something years. 9/11, I am basically 40, so you must understand. I grew up or was already of age enough to know about 9/11, see the war on terror. That was a culmination of basically a shit ton, a metric shit ton of activities for 20 years. There's reports, but most nations miss it. It's either because the population are too sheep. Now, in-game wise, they want a level of domination, gradual. They work with the Democrats and they work the same way progressives work. Eventually, the creep happens and then they can flip the society. It's like Afghanistan. As soon as we were going to pull out of Afghanistan, the Taliban was going to come roaring back. They're too fundamentalist. Plus, they're next door to Pakistan. See, the interesting part is the Saudis are moderates, but they got extremes in the royal family and extremes in their practicing. Some like Sharia. This is a fact. So they're not against it. It's still like maybe a 60-40, 70-30, right? But a bunch of hardliners did take over mosques. You see it now. The Middle East response to a lot of what's been happening in the West is to turn a blind eye and cut off funding. They think that's going to change it. See, while we curbed basically the growth of the Islamic issue through the war on terror in the Middle East, it exploded in the radicalization in Europe, in the US, in large areas of the West. It sounds weird, but the ones outside of the Middle East are either the refugees that left the area, like Syria, or worse, by proxy, basically, and sort of kind of knows us. We come from the same area, and if anyone knows, I pay attention. It's like we know that they're not entirely bad people. A lot of them just want to come escape. They want to have their own. But it doesn't explain like half of them will repeat the same cycle once they get here. But again, there's like several communities out in rural Texas, I think, like they want to build an entire Islamic town with a mosque in the center of it. Center towns or epic towns. It's actually a really big, true deal. People don't want to talk about it. They don't. It's been like this for many years. We tamp down on these cells when we find them, but sometimes the damage is far too late before we do it. See, like in Canada and the UK, they can literally walk up to a reporter, tell them what they're going to do, or walk up to a journalist even, tell them they're gonna become the dominant power. And no, they don't know. They'll play it off as a joke or hide it. Because it's like Johnny Somali going to do the nuisance streaming in Japan and North Korea. Even him getting 6 months is minor. It's not even a serious charge. Because they know the West, just as nuisance streamer knows in the East, they're too polite. They won't stop them. Same is in the West. We are far tolerant of things. We will let it slide until it hits extremes. But then again, we also have parties in power, the liberals, like the Democrats largely, that will cut off their own nose to spite their own face if it means getting rid of Trump or anybody. It's really kind of a fucked up situation. There's something I'll have to get with Sorter. I'll have to find a way to lay it out. It's the alliance between the Democrats, Islamic. You have to see this in a flow chart. It's Islamic people, Muslims and Islam. Under it is the socialist, the Marxist, and the communist, and then the liberals. Because in no sane world would a gay activist be able to stand next to a Muslim. Or an Islamist, for that matter. Islamist organizations would rather soon throw a gay person off a building or murder them in their sleep than work with them. Hence why the gays for Palestine thing is like, it's a meme. It really is a meme. Notable stories like when, sorry, blanking right now. This way shouldn't be streamed without when you just wake up, or I kind of been broken sleep lately, so pardon brain farts. When ISIS took over Syria and parts of Iraq, they found people who were gay or got outed by their neighbors, threw them off buildings. Yet, you think Western organizations think because that won't happen to the gay people in the US if they took over an area? It would. Or they just murder them. They stay quiet. Like in Iran, they worked with the liberals, communists, and Marxists, right? Once they got done with them, they discarded them as useful idiots. Democrats basically don't realize they sign off their own death warrant. It's very similar to knowing, like when Obama came to power and said the Cold War was over, Russia used that as an opportunity to get into the US politically. Again, because we showed weakness. It's a weird trait. And their end goal is they do want domination. They want control of areas. But it's harder in the US, unlike France, which had some communities they could co-op. Like, I'd have to get like a series of this laid out, because one of the goals of the Muslim Brotherhood was to go into existing Muslim communities and subvert them. They willingly do that to themselves. But their end game is domination. They've already subjugated enough Muslim communities. And I think upwards we have of supposedly one group, a Muslim group, or Islamic group, basically is a good way to say it. They call themselves a Muslim group, have claimed at least 24 different small subset settlement towns in Texas. If that is true, I wouldn't put it beyond that. They move around, but they stay to their own. And their end game is co-oping at first, then it's control, then domination. They don't, Islamists are very different. They don't like integration. There's a problem. This is actually why some of the language of Mamdani is very hyperbolic, and it should scare people. He said it out in public. And even his speech after the failed bombing in New York, where the guy was going to throw the impact bomb that would have probably killed a bunch of people as well as injured a bunch. He called people white. It was because of the white supremacists and the Islamophobia. That is a tactic. They know what they do. It's nothing new anymore. We've seen the playbook for 20 years. And if you know the language, it's either that the left willingly lets themselves get cucked, or your liberal types don't like thinking that there's actual threats. Okay? They think these people are not a threat. which is insane, right? Again, signing off on your own death warrant or extinction, which is a weird phrase, but kind is what we're doing, is you don't be surprised when you've lost control of the area. Like I said, these streams are more off. In the link below, I will remember to put down the one. He has a whole thing. Like, there's a different one. The 1 hour and 30 minutes is the one. He cut out about 20 minutes of it where you can't show it on YouTube because it shows violence. But the sources are there. A lot of it, I've known the investigations, but I've known it's been hand waved. The officials are named. You can find it. These organizations are usually, it's not everybody in these organizations, it's a couple of them. It's only, but you only need a small percentage population to really sway a population. It's like Mamdani knows, like the Muslims in New York, example, they know there's a non-voting population. All you got to do is get the Muslims out to vote for the candidates. You have easy candidates. Now, this is their goal. They're going to have to take areas after that. Because Mamdani isn't the only one. He's they're using the DSA right now. You would not believe how many Muslim people are in the DSA. That's Democratic Socialist of America Party, or the ones who want to co-opt the Democrats. Yeah. See, I might, but in closing, below will be, but there's a lot of stories you find out. You listen to the Democrats, you listen to current events, you find out that it's a harder problem to root out. But here's the thing. The biggest thing is they have infiltrated to a degree. They're a lot deeper than they were. And they've been helped. The problem is rooting it out. It's like the Somali fraud and the Al-Shabaab fraud up there. The states could have corrected that. But their own governments, Tim Walz and them, will not correct it. It sounds insane, right? Yes. They don't correct it. And you got to ask sometimes the question, why? You may have to admit your own failures, or you're going to have to basically admit your system of containment failed. Now, this is the problem with the West. Majority of people will go along to get along, all right? That's a known fact. Most people will not choose to fight. They will choose to survive. Unless it's a given threat and you can get people to unite against it. All right? This is something people have forgotten about. Capitulation is just as bad. You don't think people don't think about it, but it is the case. But that's kind of their end goal. Their end game is control and domination. You don't have to be. They know with the West, they can get money out of it. I mean, they're not going to flip a nation like the U.S. to be an Islamic area. That's kind of the dream. That's like Canada becoming the 51st state. It sounds like a joke. We all know it's not going to happen. There's not enough of them to do it. Plus, at some point, America would be so hostile to domination it wouldn't work. They know large sections of the West will capitulate willingly. Hell, half the liberals basically have done it. Democratic Party people did it. So the concept itself isn't a new concept. I mean, end goal wise, they do want control and domination. I mean, they're pretty close. They can't take over the Democrats. There's enough Democrats that keep them out of power. But in the case of New York, they got Mamdani in. But Mamdani or Elon Omar is only as good as the areas they're in. Now, hypothetically, let's say they embrace candidates like Mamdani. It might spread influence. But they're largely going with Democrat socialist candidates, not particularly Islamic. Because here's the thing, the DSA candidates, and a couple of them, like what's happening in New York, which is interesting, is you're seeing in sub-districts, council seats and other things are being subverted. Now, if they gain control of the area there, they can spread out from there. But they only have area control. That might just be what they want. But the further this goes along over the years, it might actually get a lot worse. I mean, they might go mask off more, but they don't publicly broadcast intentions. I mean, we're talking about a lot of organizations. Our government has known about them. They just choose not to do anything about them. I've known about it. You see it in news half the time. I've seen the officials run around in Islamic think tanks or Muslim think tanks for like years. They're using the same tactics progressives and liberals use to gain power. Basically, they use the tools of the enemy to advance. They've adapted to the West. This is why fighting Iran is hard without boots on the ground. You can't do it. It's one thing I criticized Trump over. I don't know if anybody in the West knew what they were doing when we went in there. Trump is backed into a corner to basically blow up oil refineries, to blow up the petrodollar, or set them back to the Stone Age. It's like we warned the Ayatollah in the 80s. We said we would bomb you back to the Stone Age. The Ayatollah knew we were serious back then. Iran pulled the West Trump card, pardon the phrase, with Trump included, and Trump has gone as far as he really can without hitting power plants, further hitting desalination plants, and you cause a population to starve. They know that the West is weak in certain areas and they take advantage of it. This is always something that's been going on. This is why it always rises up and subsides. Like, eventually, it's like the only reason you don't hear anything out of Hamas for amongst the Democrats is because they told those people to be quiet, but they paid them heed after October 7th. But this is something you have to watch for, and it's been going on. You go back to October 7th, you go look at Hassan, you go look at a lot of liberal types. They capitulated. It's weird and it's crazy, but it's true. People go, no, that ain't gonna happen. We all know it. I ain't the only one. I've been wide awake for a long time on this. Our intelligence communities have warned our presidents. They warned Obama. Obama didn't do anything. Biden didn't do anything. Trump didn't listen the first time around. He's listening now. But we're 20 years down the road. 9/11 bicultural zeitgeist is a foreign memory. Because to many, a sign isn't the case. A person wanted to build a mosque in New York where debris hit the building. That guy had a spiritual awakening. And that's like a sign for him. That's like basically a burning bush, build a temple here. It's not a good thing. It's bad. A lot of these people have been in the shadows of everything for years. And a lot of these are organizations. That's what I said. Do people need to do their own research? And I'll leave it below. And I say look up the sources because the Rileys talked about this at some point. Glenn Beck's talked about it. Other scholars have. It's just getting a lot harder to talk about it because every time someone tries to talk about it bigger, they're deemed an Islamophobe or a hate monger. And they're starting to get laws they can silence their own critics. The intelligence agencies can't pull the trigger now because they're being cucked by their own leaders. They're being told it's too dangerous. Hence why the CIA has cut down operations on them. The NSA has monitored them for years. They can't act. The FBI, DOJ will occasionally prosecute these people. There's some that have even worked with our government as insiders, despite what people say. This is something that's been going on for 20, 30 years. Even after 9/11, Bush was supposed to meet with CARE or an organization named as a Muslim Brotherhood organization, front organization. Some people we've known that these are front organizations. Um, it's really scary in its own right. The left signs off on their own destruction. All right. It's not just that the West is fighting a war. There is two, because I watched the 1 hour and 50-minute one. Okay. There's a thing about a lot of it. It's not hard to find this information. Me personally, uh, the Glenn Beck one is going to be down below. This is the first. This is the blueprint, right? And you have to spell this out. It's one of those things is, look, you can lead a horse to water, but there's no guarantee the horse will drink. The other one below will be the Tommy Robinson interview. He talks about uh, he's making his tours. I need to find that one. Shit, I have to go back, but it's almost 3 weeks. It's going down on the other. Yep, I had to remember to bookmark this. But the one guy's a meathead. This is the other one in there. This is the So this is kind of a blueprint or the guidebook. Like the second one is what they've been using. This has been known about. They basically Tommy Robinson was canceled in the UK. Now, he's not the best person. He's learning now. He is a meathead, as I said. He is not the greatest of things. He described the process and then what the UK government did. Now, half of it was one part, but also the other part is you play a willing part in your own downfall. So it's something people need to do their research. It's kind of like that's what I do myself. Usually, once I see an idea, I start looking into it myself. It's like if we ever go into Gramsci, we have to explain who Gramsci is, Gramscian tactics, or for that matter, I still have a whole file on Neville Roy Singham. Neville Roy Singham has been known. That's a guy. He's shown up. UK caught him inciting activist groups. But like I do my own research and I'll find it. I just use things as a guidepost. Sometimes I find it's more bullshit, so some of it's bullshit, some of it's not important. Basically, I'll find some of these things are not important, which sounds really, really. You do your own research. It's not as much influence as much as people will basically. You need to do your own. The problem itself is some of this I've known because of the fact that I look at history and I look at current events. A lot of people are sometimes too stupid. They don't realize it. It's easier to turn your gaze to the ground than have to pay attention. You can pray it passes. And I mean, it's really the point of it's one of those ones where, look, in reality, you consign yourself to your own fate. And I mean, that's the thing. A lot of the West has been consigning itself to its own fate. But every gay activist, everything, they just willingly throw their lot in. That's the thing that I've never fully understood. It's something that has always amazed me about actual, I say, certain people that walk themselves to their doom. But then again, any group that's like Islamist or people who want to subvert America or subvert Europe know it's possible. They know our playbooks. Then again, our intelligence agencies have warned them for years. They don't pay attention to the study groups. They would rather bury their head in the sand instead of actually address the issue. Just because you put off tomorrow, what is it? Basically, tomorrow, think of it this way. You put the problem off for 2 years or 10 years. Do you think it's better? No, that pile of clothes is still going to be there in a week. Okay? It's still going to be there. It's not going to clean itself. That dirty sink is still going to be there too. You're just trying to put off that you don't want to fight it. You're hoping that it goes away. I personally feel, look, you can only arm the public with it. You can't, again, it's one of those things. As society is going on, true facts, as society is going on, they're not recognizing evil. It sounds odd, sounds strange, but that's the case. It's either the idea is you're either going to preserve your culture or you're just going to disappear. Because one thing is very clear. Chinese realized about their own Muslim population, as I said earlier. They subjugate their own. They just literally act like it doesn't exist. You know? That's their plan. But with that, I'll be done. The link down below is. But you got to remember, you have to educate yourself on your enemy or whatever the knowledge is. You got to figure it out. Because if someone comes to you and you said you have never faced evil before, the concept of good and evil is a core part. A lot of people will not acknowledge that. That is something that is disappearing in the world. They don't want to say they have seen evil. And it's not a cultural thing. It's not like calling someone an ist or a phobe. the concept of good and evil is just normal. It may seem like an outdated concept. I go, because liberal people wanted to push stuff out of the cultural zeitgeist. Understanding culpability, understanding how people operate. It's like the people who look at uh, things. I personally feel that a lot of people are not recognizing good and evil. There's your problem. Good and evil is something that you need to understand. Again, they don't guide their families, they don't guide that, they don't teach it. Then you're shocked when something bites you. So, like, one of the bigger deals is, like, for real, the guy who was in the New York City bombing, the recent one, the leftivist guy who was on TikTok, he didn't call the guy a evil Islamic terrorist. He said prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law, whilst wanting more immigration from that part of the world. And you should break down borders. These people do not recognize a threat if it's proposed, if it's right in front of them. Call it the lack of a survival instinct, call it a lack of acknowledging good and evil. The joke aside, you see it on Twitter, is some cats have zero survival instinct. You know? It's like people. It's like pets. They rely on you. Good and evil is roughly the same way. Okay? You need to be smart and be wise. Know when someone's lying to you. Know when basically news media lies or something doesn't add up. One thing I've had the pleasure of, I have been right more often than not. The problem itself is I've seen this cycle repeat itself more than I care to think about at this point, okay? This is getting bad. The thing is, I'm not saying countries are at tipping points. We're going to be screwed. The problem is Canada's already there, because once you have the government protecting basically the people, like in the UK, they wouldn't even call out the grooming gangs because of what? You don't want to be a racist? And then the report comes out, people were caught who knew, were caught lying. That's like Mexico trying to realize they have a drug cartel problem, and they suddenly realize they don't have control of the country anymore, which is true. They don't have control of their own country. It's the same way. It goes back to the concept of good and evil. Because people don't really get it. if they understood this, we probably wouldn't be in half the situations we are now. You wouldn't have the Black Lives Matter. It's one of those things of you need to look at it, being able to recognize a situation. Instead, majority of people go along to get along. But anyways, I might be game later. I need to go out to the store and I don't know. I need to like finish up things. As I said, my in closing, Crimson Desert is my current project if people see this. So Crimson Desert, my game is soft lock. I just don't feel like streaming it, having that and going 4 hours and nothing. With nothing but exploring and side quests. Because I can't progress the main quest. So that's something I'm doing. But also I need to put some I've been delaying putting off magic decks together. But yeah. Anyway, I will catch people another day. I might be streaming at 6 tonight, but I need to go to the store and come back. Go grocery shopping. But links are in the description below. I'm not the most hateful person. I'm just that. The problem with the sheep population is bad. Most people will, at the end of the day, choose to go along to get along. It's one of the most disturbing factors in human survival. Choosing the fight over the bullet is not sometimes hard. Some people would rather fight to the death. Other people would rather live under the boot, not realize they'll be subjugated. Which sounds weird, but it's a concept that's foreign to people. I'm not expecting a concept, that concept to be known, because you just have to look at stuff yourselves over time. When you know something isn't right, instead of demonizing your opponents, I meet a lot of people, they have more skeletons in their closet than I do, yet I'm the worst person. But then they choose to deal with a person who's downright evil or downright dumb. This is a case. This happens more often than not. A lot of people choose to sign off for on their own deaths. They choose it. But then again, what's new? If I sound like I'm repeating myself, I do it because people will never learn this. Because also people don't have self-awareness. But someday I explain it. If I ever get Sorter into stuff and around more often, because Sorter's often busy. Or bad things occur and he has to not be near a computer or something. Like he's not. That's why this took 2 weeks to get around to. I should do this weekly. Yeah. This is just a guidepost. The problem itself is it's a think piece, right? There's a difference between a Muslim and an Islamist. Islamists don't play fair. Muslims will integrate. The problem is sometimes two are one and the same. This is a problem the West has been burying in the ground swearing up and down is not going to come bite them in the ass. Okay? You can't do that. It's going to come back and bite you. You don't know how it's going to come back and bite you, but it always does. But till then, I need to go to the store. I am tired, and I'll be streaming later on. But just remember, the lessons are you will be dominated if you do not fight. But also, people do not understand good and evil. It's not like a video game where you have options to redo. And in some people, they blind themselves willingly. Trust me, I've seen it more often than not. Again, it's people need to do their own research. It's like when we talk about Gramsci. Gramsci would blow people's mind. You would not think of how much stuff is actually inspired with Gramsci. But till then, I am catch people later.